Hey there, it's Olivia-Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to tell you the best films that I watched in 2025. Lots of them are not new, so be aware that I'm going to be talking about films that were just new to me, and I've got an honourable mention. So let's start with the honourable mention. So the honourable mention I have for you is Gerald's Game. This is a film that I have been wanting to see since the trailers were in the cinema. That's how long it took me to finally get around to this. It's based on a Stephen King novel, and I don't enjoy Stephen King novels, but I really enjoy films based on his novels. And in this one, it's about a couple who go into the middle of nowhere to rekindle their romance with a holiday. They decide to do something a little bit kinky in bed. He handcuffs her spread out onto the bed, and then he has a heart attack and he dies, and she is in the middle of nowhere handcuffed to the bed, and it's about her trying to get free essentially. And as she does so, she starts to become dehydrated, she starts having hallucinations, and she starts having flashbacks to her past. Now the reason why this film is an honourable mention is because I have not been able to get the editing and the clever way that they brought this film to life out of my mind, because what they've done with the hallucinations I thought was incredibly clever and incredibly playful. And even though it's a film where the main cast is literally 1 and 2 people, I was just entranced the whole way and intrigued, and it was suspenseful, and I didn't know if she was going to make it or not. It was just everything that you want in a horror thriller kind of film. More horror than a thriller, I would say. What makes it an honourable mention and not a top pick is that the ending absolutely ruins it. I think the ending was entirely unnecessary and could have been cut to make it a perfect film, but because it's there, it doesn't quite make my top 10. Time for me to start talking about my top 10, and they are going to be in no discernible order except for the last one. The last one is my top film that I saw in the entirety of last year. Scream. 1996. This is the first time I've ever watched Scream. Horror is one of my favourite film genres, so I knew that it was just a matter of time before I'd watch it. I finally watched it and I absolutely loved it, just like everybody else. I thought it was going to be like a silly, light-hearted slasher, horror film. I know all about the guy in the mask. I know lots of the lines and the elements of this film, but I didn't realise just how good it was going to be once I saw it. I loved how much it played on a lot of the horror stereotypes and tropes and had that kind of satirical self-awareness. It was funny, it was humorous, but it also was surprising. I didn't see where things were going to go. I didn't know who the killer was. I was just there, strapped along for the ride, and had a good time from start to finish. It was gory, there were blood splatters, there were murders. It was entertaining. It was a very entertaining, satirical look at horror, and it's been something that has defined the genre, and I can see in what ways it has defined the genre now having watched it myself. So this was a really pleasant watch for me. We're still on the classics here, so I watched 28 Days Later, which is the first one in the 28 years franchise. I watched this because the latest one came out, and I just know that this is heralded as one of the most iconic zombie films. I do think it was one of the first zombie films that did zombies that could move quickly, and so I just always wanted to watch it, and I finally did, and I loved it and had such a good time with it. I absolutely did not know about the cast before I watched it. I just knew it was an iconic film. So then when I started watching it and I saw all of these actors crop up, I was like, you're telling me that Cillian Murphy is in this film? What? I just didn't expect it of him and his repertoire of where he is in films now, but also just all of these actors. They absolutely killed it. They did so great. Christopher Eccleston, I was like, what? But as far as zombie films go, I do think sometimes they can become a bit repetitive and monotonous, but this was not that whatsoever. It was entertaining, it gripped me, it showed us, the concept of trusting in other people and letting yourself love people in situations where anybody can pass away at any moment or become a zombie at any moment is really scary and requires a lot of daring and opening up of your heart, and you get to see the characters learn to do that and form a found family, whether that works well for them or not. And even the dystopian nature of the world being in central London and there's zombies everywhere, it was just really fascinating to me. I liked how it did the zombies. It felt kind of scary. It is an old film, so it's got the old editing as well, which just feels comforting to me when I watch it now. So I really enjoyed this. Again, very good time. Surprise, surprise, we have a superhero film on this list. So I am very over Marvel. I'm not a Marvel fan, but I am still a DC fan. And so I do listen to people when they say a film is good. So I went to see Superman with my best friend and I actually really loved this. It was everything, all the beats that you expect a superhero film to have. You know, there's Superman with his naive innocence and goodness, just wanting to do good, but then there are all these other people who are putting political implications onto his actions. And I think that is a frustration that a lot of people do feel. Like, people want to do the right thing, but the right thing is being negatively portrayed with propaganda, so people think you're doing something sinister. Now, that's just like a little bit of commentary if you're thinking about the film in depth, but it is still like a superhero film. There's still Superman fighting these big villains, fighting these big battles, and I watched 2 or 3 films with Nicholas Hoult in them this year, and I realised how much I love him as an actor and how versatile his acting roles are, and he did a fantastic job playing a villain. I don't think I've seen him play a villain before in anything that I've personally watched, so I was fascinated by seeing him be a villain, and I did find it very entertaining and very funny to see him in the role that he was in. But I also think, you know, the person who played Superman, he was super hot, as Superman should be, but even just the way he acted, like, I believed in his magnanimity and his honour. And also, I don't often love a dog character, but I did here. I found him entertaining and enjoyable. I really liked the overall plot. I liked all of our side characters. I liked the soundtrack. I ended up adding songs to my playlist. It was just such a good time in terms of superhero films, and it's something that Marvel films haven't made me feel in a very long time. Going back to dystopian horror, I watched The Long Walk this year, and it absolutely has made my best films of the year list. This is again an adaptation from a Stephen King novel, and it's about these men who go on a long walk in this dystopian world, and when you're walking you have to keep up a certain pace and you're not allowed to stop, and the last person walking, there's no end goal, the last person walking is the one who wins a lot of money, but also whatever your heart desires. The catch to this, of course, is that if you stop walking, you die, and that's just such a horrific scenario to be in, and there's a lot around this film that you just have to accept. You have to accept that this is a dystopian world where we don't understand the rules of the dystopian world. We will never understand why people would enter into this, because we don't understand what the world is like. Why are only men allowed to do it? Who knows? The film doesn't want to address that, so we don't know. There's like a lot of things that is not great about this film. I also think the commander is not that scary. However, for what the film does give us, if you only keep the blinkers on and focus on what the film is giving you, it gives you some very good stuff. I really enjoyed the acting in this one. I think it was phenomenal. I loved getting to see such a big, hearty depiction of male friendship between all of these contestants who are reluctantly trying not to become friends because of the fact that, you know, only one person is able to make it out alive. It was suspenseful, it was painful, it was heartbreaking, it was scary, it was brutal. I do think the film fumbled the ending a little bit, and the messaging around the ending becomes very unclear, but for the journey and for all the emotions that I was feeling while watching this film, it had to be on my best films of the year list. I'd been anticipating the 2025 version of Frankenstein since it was announced. Frankenstein is one of my favourite classics of all time, and I just wanted it to do the book justice. It did the book justice. Del Toro really did that. This was a fantastic adaptation of the book. It did change some things, but what it did change I did really like. It has such great acting from Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi, and also Mia Craven, I think her name is. She did a great job as well. I liked how it made her character a lot less frenetic, a lot less insane, but actually put some backing and spine to her character, even though she did become a manic pixie dream girl with all the men being in love with her, whatever. That's kind of the role in the book, arguably, to say. But the depiction of the monster and Frankenstein and their relationship was what was really brought to the forefront of this adaptation from the way that Del Toro structured the film. And I really think the way that it delved into its themes of like the cycle of abuse and all of that was a nice perspective to look at the book from, which is not the perspective I think that the book gives you really. Like, it's in there, but it's not the main thing in the book, so it was nice to see kind of unique spin on it. In terms of the editing and the film shots, I'm just so glad that I saw this in the cinema over watching it on Netflix at home, because it was stunning. This was my first Del Toro film that I've ever seen, and it was so visually and viscerally stunning, and I was just captivated by the snow on the eyelashes of the men. Like, just the small finer details was so exquisitely done. The costuming, the camera angles, the cinematography in the whole film. When I was watching it, I was already admiring and acknowledging the choices that had gone into this film and how well it all came together to make such a brilliant viewing experience. And speaking of viewing experience, I have to talk about Hedda, which I think has flown under the radar of so many people. It's on Amazon Prime and it's starring Tessa Thompson as Hedda Gabler. This is an adaptation of a play that is very well known. I love the play. Well, actually I don't love the play. I like the play, but I love this film. Hedda is a very fickle character who's very manipulative. You could see her as a villain in some ways or form because of the way that she plays people against each other, and the best way I could describe this film is quite Great Gatsby-esque. She is throwing a big party, she's invited her lover and all of her past lovers, and everything is going to go down around this party. And it's one of those films where there's not a big plot that's explosive or suspenseful, but there's a sinister intentionality behind everything that Hedda does and her downward spiral that really was threaded through the film. And again, this is one where you can tell that the directing, the producing, the cinematography, the costume choices, even the music choices and the camera angles are all very intentional, because it took me on a journey through this party and I was falling down its winding path. Tessa Thompson did a fantastic job with playing the role, and I was in awe of her acting prowess in this one. It's so worth watching her performance. She deserves to be showered with awards, but similarly, I like that they changed something about the play. They changed the gender of one of her lovers to make it a homoerotic relationship, and the commentary and the implications of that and how it's different from the play, because it adds a new thread of tension, and how the film acknowledges that by making that relationship queer it changes a lot of the dynamic. Fascinating. In the play, Hedda is a white character, but by having her portrayed as a black character, and it doesn't shy away from the fact, it acknowledges that she's a black character and therefore things are different for her. The implications of that, fascinating and well explored. The ending is slightly different from the play. Good choices, good choices. Really enjoyed watching this one. Another black film that I watched was Rainey's Black Bottom. It is the last film starring Chadwick Boseman. I had heard good things about it. I know it's a play, I haven't seen the play yet, but it's got Viola Davis in it. It's got a number of actors that I absolutely love. Like, look at this cast. Fantastic. It's about Rainey, who is recording a single and she wants to do it her way, and it's about the tensions within the band and within her and the producers. A lot of this is about racial tensions and structures in historical America, as well as blues music and the production of that and how that was distributed. I loved this. First of all, this is my ideal length for a film. I believe films should be an hour and a half. I believe this, and I enjoy when they are. And also you can tell that it's a play because it's all set kind of in the same locations. It's not them going to different places or that. It's all the tension in this one room coming to a boil, and as a theatre goer, I love that kind of setup. I love watching those kind of things. Chadwick Boseman was performing his heart out in this. There are brilliant, actors in this, and I think all of them acted spectacularly. I don't think there was a bad actor in this, and all of them have their moments where I was like, you did amazing, you did amazing, you did amazing. But Chadwick Boseman has like the Oscar moment in this, and it's so good and it's so emotional, and it made me all the more emotional knowing that he's passed when I watched this. It's also a lovely celebration around blues music and what it means, and it was just so good. It was so good, and it was just so easy to watch because it's on Netflix. In December, I watched quite a few films, and this one's on my best list because it was just so much fun. This is The Housemaid, which is an adaptation from a Frida McFadden novel, which I haven't read, but in 2025, I was reading for the latter half of the year. I was reading approximately one Frida McFadden thriller a month, so then getting to watch this in December felt like an accumulation of my Frida McFadden moment. And this is a thriller about a woman who lives with her husband and her child, and she hires a housemaid to help her out, and the thriller goes from there. It's very much a good for her kind of thriller film. It is really fun. This is not like the most heralded or lauded film ever, but it was enjoyable from start to finish. It's one of those films where you go through the beginning and you think, I know what's going to happen here, here, here. It's going to follow all of these plot beats, and then the film is just like, you thought you knew what was going to happen. You did not, and it spins and knocks everything off of its axis, and then you're just strapped in for the ride, enjoying this film unraveling in front of you and it getting more and more insane as it goes along. I liked the ending, I liked what it accumulated towards, I had so much fun watching it. Amanda Seyfried, I know that she's a fantastic actor, I've watched a lot of her films, but again, this reminded me she's such a good actor. It's an Oscar award-winning, you know, role, but she gave it her all, and you can see that. This also managed to make me laugh out loud. I would say that not all films managed to make me laugh out loud the way that this did, because it was so bizarrely silly and funny. It gets a bit gory, so do be ready for that, and yeah, enjoyable from start to finish. The last film that I watched of the year was Wake Up Dead Man, which is Knives Out 3. I watched it, and then in the same week I rewatched it as I introduced it to my parents. I had a lot of fun with this murder mystery film. I enjoy reading murder mysteries. I don't get the chance to watch many murder mysteries that aren't based on a previous book. I don't watch many murder mysteries where I don't know what the outcome will be already by having read the book, if that makes sense. Because I feel like a lot of the murder mystery films are adaptations of Agatha Christie, but that's a big sweeping generalization. This was really good. I enjoyed it, just like I enjoyed the first film, not so much the second one. I liked the perspective and the narrative and who was telling the story. I enjoyed all of the acting from all of the actors. There's quite a big cast for this one as well of well-known actors, and I think they all did a great job. It's a locked room mystery, which is always really fun because it feels like an impossible thing to solve, but there are also larger elements at play, which, you know, I managed to solve some things, but I didn't manage to solve everything. I had a lot of fun with how complicated this was because it has a lot to do with religious imagery. And I really enjoyed how it handled the religious themes and imagery in this. As someone who is religious, I love when religion is part and parcel of the media that I consume. And in this one, it showed the non-believers, it showed the corruption of the church, but it also showed the believers and what good they can do. And I think by having the full range of the religious experience from non-believers to believers to the middle bit as well, it just gives you a very well-rounded picture of things and how people can be fallible, but that doesn't always have to involve faith, but how it can. Yeah, that just fulfilled something in my mystery loving heart, and I hope they make many more Knives Out films because I really enjoy seeing Daniel Craig play that role. And then last but not least, we come to my favourite film that I watched in 2025, and as if it was going to be anything other than Sinners, of course, that was going to be my favourite film of the year. I went to see this in the cinema and I sat there reeling because a certain scene, which is in the club, took my breath away. This is a film that is set in historical America, and it's about two twins who want to open a club, and it's about them, their cousin, I think, and also about a supernatural creature. That's what I'm gonna say. I think this is Afrofuturism in a film, and I don't often, you know, Afrofuturism is what I consider one of my favourite genres, and it just doesn't translate over into the film space or the TV space as much. It's so hard to find. There's Lovecraft Country, but I don't really watch so many TV shows, and then there's this film, and that captured everything that I love. It captured the supernatural creatures I loved, it captured what I love about music and live music and connecting to people, it captured what I love about black culture and having a party with loads of black people in a room, it captured what I love about Afrofuturism and how so much of our culture translates and transforms and transitions between time and defies all odds, defies hatred, defies, you know, racism, defies everything stacked against us. And in the moments where everything is stacked against us, we can still find joy, hold on to joy, and remember joy. I don't actually want to talk about this film that much because I want you to go and see it if you haven't seen it, and you can watch it in so many ways. You can watch it with all of that depth that I just mentioned, but you can also just watch it as a good time. You can watch it as a film that is really fun and enjoyable until it devolves into what is best described as a horror film, because it's a nightmare what happens to these people. And the ending is bittersweet. The ending is It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet in a lot of ways, but it's also hopeful in some ways, and I really like that about the film. I think the acting in this was phenomenally done, especially as one of the main characters hadn't done any acting before. What do you mean? That this was their first experience, but they also brought a lot of that innocence to the role, which paid off. All of the secondary characters felt so fleshed out, felt so real, felt so tangible to me, and you understood all of their personalities and their roles in the film. There's a lot of cultural referencing to how things really were in history, in terms of it's not just a black film, it's about that crossover between cultures and oppressions, and it's small nods to that in the film, but I loved to see it embedded in there. This was phenomenal. This is everything I love in a film, and that's why Sinners is the best film I watched. So I hope you enjoyed getting to hear about the best things that I've watched. Please let me know in the comment section down below what was your favourite film that you watched last year. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!